Good evening, and welcome to the television graveyard. We are your TV necromancers, Laura Prince and Noah Houlihan. We have come here tonight to examine the spirits of past television shows, to find out what ones could be resurrected, should be resurrected, and which ones should just stay doomed. This will be a podcast in which we analyze the history, the hype, and the aftermath of shows that ran only one season, including some that ran only one episode. This month is Spoopy month, and this is the first Fifth Monday. So we are going to do something a little special. With me, usually, is TV's Noah Houlihan.
I'm not a very good Undertaker.
And with me, unusually, are the Party of One podcast's Jeff Stormer and producer Jen Frank.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
And I, as always, am Laura Prince. So today, we covered the creepypasta lore Crybaby Lane, which was long presumed lost, but originally aired in the year 2000 on the Saturday before Halloween, and didn't resurface until 2011.
Yes, this is our first time where we have a Fifth Monday, so instead of doing a canceled season or something like that, we're kind of doing a lost media thing.
Yeah.
I like that. That's cool. I'm into that.
Something that has been lost and stored away, but not far enough from this here shovel for me to unearth it here and present it to everyone here. We needed more people because we had to do a seance. We had
to do a seance.
We all grabbed hands and we lit a
candle.
A strawberry scented candle. And brought about Crybaby Lane.
I dubbed some spooky sounds over my summer jams mix.
Yeah, so we decided that for a Fifth Monday of the month, we wanted to go somewhere a little bit more unorthodox, and so we went with something that followed the spoopy theme, but didn't necessarily hit that, that one season.
Yes, this was not meant to ever be more than what it was.
But they probably thought they were going to get more than one airing out of it.
Yeah, like an annual Halloween thing.
They definitely thought they were getting more than one out of it.
Yeah. And we watched it literally moments ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Usually we have a day or two between when we stop watching a show and when we record. Mm-hmm. So I was actually doing the research beforehand this time, which is unusual.
Yeah. So you didn't go in blind like usual. Oh boy.
Yeah,
this lot to talk about.
This podcast will probably be longer than the film because I have a lot of feelings.
And the film's only 70 minutes long, and we've had like a lot of podcasts longer than that.
I have a lot of stuff to say.
All right, well, let's start with the old recap.
Let's do it.
What went down here?
Okay, so we started in a flashback sequence, which is presented in the most general, nothing is scarier terms. Like, we kind of don't see anything, but we hear the story over disturbing imagery.
Yeah,
all sepia tone is what I would like to have emphasized here.
A sepia tone storytelling. Done by, what was the name of this actor?
Frank Langella.
Skeletor from the Masters of the Universe movie.
What?
Richard Nixon from Frost and Nixon.
Oh! I get to do Skeletor and Nixon impressions throughout the rest of this podcast?
Jeff, you've killed us all.
He was also in a movie a few years ago where he befriends a robot, and I don't remember the name of the film, but it looked very charming.
Chappie?
No, it wasn't Chappie.
Oh.
It wasn't Chappie.
Real Steel?
It was not Real Steel.
The Iron Giant?
It might have been called Bob, honestly. It had the name that was real, like, one word.
Yeah,
Chappie?
It was called Robot and Frank.
Robot and Frank. Yeah, he like befriends a robot. He's a staple
he's
of...
Frank, robot's robot.
He's a staple of America, he's like an accomplished, like, Shakespearean actor, and is much better than...
And he's Skeletor! Yeah, you them poops.
I am not a crookie, man.
He was also Perry White in Superman Returns.
Was he really? I don't remember that. I don't remember.
I figured you would just be like, Kent, get me the front page.
Pictures of Spider-Man.
Seasons, man. Yep, this is the whole podcast now. Get ready.
So, we get the story, and the story is basically...
Actually, what folds in is Nickelodeon wanted a bigger name than the director's original choice, and that's how they got Frank Langella, which I kind of want to make fun of, because we've just spent the last 2 minutes making fun of Frank Langella.
So that wasn't the first choice?
No, the original first choice was Tom Waits.
Oh, that would have actually been really good, because it opens with him telling his creepy story, and Tom Waits has a great creepy story voice.
Who's Tom Waits?
Like a folk musician. Like a very famous folk musician.
Okay.
Sort of known and famous for having one of those, like, folky
very
voices.
Very deep, gravelly.
Yeah.
Big among the tween.
Probably, yeah. Pretty kid among the Snick crowd.
Yeah, I mean, no bigger than, Frank Langella.
Yeah, that's true.
Of a similar kind of, like, could play a creepy old man.
Okay. So...
He was on the Shrek 2 soundtrack?
Skeletor tells a story about how there's these two conjoined children. I'm not going to do it the whole time.
Oh, thank God.
And one was evil. The other was good.
And that brings us to the first, issue I have, is in the story, it's, they're conjoined twins. As they grew, it became clear that one was good and one was evil.
Sure, we don't know why.
Because the right twin is always the evil twin, is what is an established thing of evil twins.
But, they're not allowed to leave the house, so,
And they're conjoined, so,
they're stuck up in the attic?
One of them was kind of a jerk sometimes, maybe?
If just one of them's I want to, plant trees. The other one's I want to stab the dog. What is happening in this situation?
Yeah, we don't really know what makes the good twin good and the evil twin evil at this point.
And then they get sick and die.
Because they share a liver, not because they share, a body.
Yeah.
They share a liver, so they both became ill. So they cut the baby in half, and they bury them in different graves.
They bury the good twin in the cemetery, and they bury the bad twin out in the yard.
Out of Crybaby Lane.
Yeah, and the wording here is very strange.
It is.
Mm-hmm. They buried him down in Crybaby Lane. They call it that because you can hear the cries of the child, the evil child who wants revenge. Well, then why was it called Crybaby Lane when you buried the child there?
Oh.
They definitely made it seem
the wording was real weird.
There was a logical loop there. And it's this is the baby that gets buried here. Because the legend. That's right.
Was it also implied that the house on Crybaby Lane was their house that they grew up in?
They buried him, out in the yard.
They're right out in their front yard.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep the evil one close.
So, we then fade in on Frank Langella, who plays an Undertaker, telling a 12-year-old and I guess maybe a 15-year-old?
Yeah, something like that.
This spooky story. And then we get to a real horror moment of oh, this old man's just, entertaining these two.
And the wording is very confusing.
Yeah, the wording is very...
Because it's
I know what that road is. It's out by Portage, right?
An undertaker lives a life of intrigue, boys. One foot in this world, another in the grave. The things I've seen.
Excellent. It's getting late.
Oh, is it? It seems early. I don't sleep much. I never have. You know, the average person swallows 5 spiders a year in his sleep. It's a fact.
Uncle Ben?
How's Mr. Beaumont?
I finished with his shampoo and rinse, but I still have to dry and set. And ream out the suction tubes.
Right.
It's really getting late.
Some more coffee?
It's getting tired. I never sleep. Do you want more coffee? Let me get you more drinks.
Let me tell you, an undertaker keeps 1 foot in the grave at all times. Have some coffee.
It's getting late. It's not late. I thought it was early.
Yeah.
Meet my friend, the taxidermist.
No, he's the taxidermist.
And that's the next thing we got to talk about is...
Undertaker and taxidermist probably shouldn't be the same dude.
Yeah, it's very strange that the Undertaker would be a taxidermist. And I know, just that alone, there's nothing wrong with it, but you make a logical jump. If someone was yo, I make balloon animals and condoms. Whoa. You shouldn't pick one of those.
Also, like, if the taxidermy had ended up being, like, a check-off skill...
Yeah, if it had come up...
It felt like it was there and they never really used it for anything.
It felt like they don't understand what an Undertaker does. Because, like, they kept implying that he was a taxidermist because it was his job to make the dead bodies presentable.
Which is a mortician.
That's a mortician. That's
Right.
not a tax. That's neither an Undertaker nor a taxidermist.
Oh my god, you're right!
Yeah. He's not even, like, good at his job.
I didn't even realize how ridiculous this was. He was neither thing. And he says, there is a line where he says, I'm not a very good Undertaker, we'll get to. But the truth of the matter is, that wasn't his job.
Yeah, he was not in fact, I believe he contracts an Undertaker later in the film.
Gary?
I believe Gary does the job of an Undertaker.
Alright, so, we're already massively misinformed. The kids head home, and Andrew, who will be our lead, has a nightmare about this story.
Oh no, ain't it great to be crazy? Bum, bum.
Yeah, we're way in Nightmare Ned territory here. I actually kind of thought that's how this was going to end. Was him just like, it's all a dream. And I would have thrown something at the television. But there's this very odd shot where we watch him get out of bed and then we're shooting down a hallway. And we see him talking to his parents, but we don't see the parents right away. And at first I was like, this is a cool stylistic choice that we'll never see the parents. Mm-hmm. That's, oh wait, there.
That would have been very true to
there they are.
It would have been very true to what, like, and this is a thing that I'm going to talk a lot about as we talk about this, is that, like, the movie clearly owes a lot of debt to, like, the kids on bikes genre, your It's, your other
Stand By Me,
your Stand By Me's, your It's, those things. It owes a lot to those movies, but like, and in those movies, like the parents are either always absent or they're sort of like nebulous.
Yeah.
Like,
or the villain.
Yeah. Or
they show up and be like, ooh, get home, I have a belt.
Yeah. Right. But like, this movie, like, it owes a lot to those movies without really understanding how those movies work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just hadn't seen one of them. They think that they're inventing this genre.
Yeah, in my notes I'm like, oh, it's proto Stranger Things. Sad, crappy, early 2000s Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Jen, you had a great observation about the way that they were shooting this house that made it look very tiny.
It just felt like, I don't know how it was actually filmed, if it was on a studio or an actual house, but it felt like they were shooting in just a very small house, and that made so many of the interior camera angles just very odd. There were times you could tell the camera slanted and like just kind of sat on top of
on like a stairwell.
In a stairwell.
And you had, because you had also mentioned that like every room in the house, I started commenting that it looked like they were filming in like a tiny house, you know, like Tiny House Hunters.
Yeah,
because everything feels like it's just jammed in a way that if you're in like a studio lot, like it won't feel that way.
Right.
Well, my thought with that is like we kind of set up that Andrew's mother is smothering, like maybe this idea that like the house feels very small.
Could be
most of what he knows.
Ooh.
But that feels like too smart.
That feels like it's giving him too much credit.
I actually have another theory. This is the house they could afford to film in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I majored in English, so I spent a lot of time spinning, spinning the situation into something that sounded good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did a photo project on Hamlet, and it was sunny out, so I wore sunglasses, and that was because Hamlet's veiled in tent. Because the eyes are the windows of the soul. Really, it's because I'm a daywalker who doesn't like to go outside.
Yeah, see, I majored in pessimism, and I was like, oh, they probably just couldn't afford a real set. That's probably what it is.
I majored in tiny house decor, so I'm able to spot a tiny house from a great distance.
Which is really a good skill, because they're very small and hard to spot.
Yeah.
You would have been really helpful at the climax of the movie to find the house.
I would have been.
Find that house.
Would have really been.
So, he has this nightmare, which gets his brother in trouble, because, man, I don't like that Mr. Bennett. I don't want you kids going there.
And his mom's coughing in this scene only.
She's real specifically coughing, and
which
like...
I thought, like, usually that means, like, mom is... I was like, oh, that's how they're going to keep mom out of the plot.
Yes.
Mom? What's the matter, Andrew? I had a nightmare.
Oh, honey.
You're not sleeping in here.
Come on.
Have you ever heard of Crybaby Lane?
No.
Mr. Bennett told us a story about
Bennett, what did I tell you about that man?
She's gonna be
Like
sick.
she's gonna be sick
And
and,
it's-
not around.
And it's
Yeah.
gonna like probably embody in some of the like the horror elements is like, oh, we're dealing with like a sick mom, like we're dealing with family stresses, because usually in this type of movie, what happens is you're introduced to a like going back to the idea that it owes a lot to movies and doesn't understand them. Usually what happens is you introduce a character's family stress, like an abusive parent or a sick parent, and then that becomes the horror thing that a child is facing.
Right.
So by overcoming this, they overcome the thing. They introduce a lot of like weird family dynamics that go nowhere.
No, it goes absolutely nowhere. And the one thing that bugged me about this whole thing was they make it explicitly clear that the mother knows about this Undertaker that the kids go see.
Yeah.
Because
Yes,
I just assumed that it was going to be like, oh, no parent knows that their kids are seeing this old man. But no, she's like, stop it. Stop
Don't
going.
let it go there anymore.
Yeah, her coughing, since it never came back up, I kind of fell where you did, and I'm like, oh, they couldn't afford to delay shooting another day while
Yeah.
she
They
got
couldn't
over a cold.
reshoot it.
It was very dusty
This
in
was
the
her
tiny
best.
house.
This was her best take.
So,
And then we see the first of, like, too many scenes of the 12-year-old protagonist not wearing a lot of clothing.
yes.
There was an uncomfortable amount of nudity in this movie.
So the kid is in the shower,
His brother is sitting fully clothed on the toilet directly outside of the shower.
just staring at him.
Flushing the toilet to get his attention.
Yeah. And then they go into the bedroom,
Yes.
at which point we learn that the reason that the brother has been taking Carl has been taking Andrew to go to this Undertaker, is because Carl is a giant professional wrestling fan with posters of The Undertaker on the wall. So this child has heard there's an Undertaker in town and assumes he is a lightning shooting wizard who at this time would have been leading the ministry?
The Ministry of Darkness
Or the
at this
corporate
time.
ministry.
No, I think this is after. That would have been 99, so this would have been like right after
Right.
the corporate ministry. This would have been him teaming with the Big Show?
I'm not quite sure we're there yet. Well, wait. 2001, so that's after the invasion.
When was this
So,
movie actually shot?
but when was it shot?
Yeah,
he was
he's
prob-
probably corporate ministry.
Yeah,
that's
he's
a
probably straight up abducting and crucifying people at this point while it's being filmed.
great...
But
So,
Carl's kind of a jerk, so he's into that.
And well,
did you see him? Did you see what he did to Stephanie McMahon?
And the fact that Carl just bullies his younger brother by performing drop toe holds to him and
Yeah.
putting
Which
him in
does
chokehold.
turn out to be a Chekhov skill.
It
does.
That
yeah.
comes back later.
but he said something that we have to play, where it's like,
Life is like wrestling. You can go toe to toe for the heavyweight title, or you can squat in the cheap seats with the brats and the grannies.
It's like, one, that's not life, and two, that's not professional wrestling. What are you talking about? I digress.
Also, I wanted it noted that he specifically put him in a drop toe hold, and then it looked like put him in a crossface, and I was like, ooh, that's unfortunate. Ooh, that's probably right when Benoit was getting real big.
Yeah. But then, basically, this is all happening to show that there's dissension
rivalry.
between the brothers because the brothers are getting in trouble, or the older brother got in trouble for taking him to the Undertaker.
I don't know if maybe it's because we're older, but I really hated the little kid. Like the 12-year-old.
I hated all these people.
I wasn't given a lot of reasons, which is another thing. These movies give you reasons to relate to and care about the characters, and this movie sort of glosses over that. And
It glosses over the relationships, it
Yeah.
glosses over the traits. All we know about Andrew was a lot like Nightmare Ned to me, where he was like kind of a snotty little coward who ran to mommy. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't really like Andrew.
So, we do see his one friend, Hall,
We do.
Yeah.
who...
But he's a 9-year-old.
Who's a 9-year-old. They hang out in the Hobbit hole, and
Which you might have to explain what that is.
It's a hobbit hole.
It's a little treehouse marked Hobbit hole, like literally.
And they
with the word
flash
Hobbit.
in and they're LARPing Lord of the Rings, except Andrew is wearing a helmet, a football helmet.
Yes. And this is like super angry nerd, I'm actually talking. He is quoting Tolkien and swinging a lightsaber. How infuriating is that?
Which is very 9-year-old. Like, that is very much like...
I thought that was very relatable, honestly.
Yeah. As a lower class nerdy child, that was extremely, like, my experience.
Also, I want to point out that, like, based on what I know about Noah's childhood, the Ninja Turtles weren't really professional wrestlers, and neither was every superhero, and you made them all a wrestling fed. So, like, crossovers are fair game for kids.
No! Why would he has perfect knight armor that he's wearing, and he's quoting Tolkien, and he's like, this sword's fine. No, it wouldn't be!
Yeah,
He built a hobbit hole! He's 9! You don't think he would have won out and went to gotten the phone?
His parents got him a sword because this is the child that is, like,
The
nerdy.
lightsaber is cooler, it glows.
Yeah, and, like, based
I walked away!
and, like, based on the time period this took place in, like, the 20th anniversary editions of Star Wars just came out.
Yeah, no, I was totally on board with him having...
Yeah.
And, like, Andrew having a football helmet and just puffy jacket, like, it was very much, this is just the stuff our parents got us for Christmas because they don't fully understand what we're into. Because, like, the knight armor that he had wasn't, like, Tolkienian knight armor. And like Laura pointed out, this would have been when the first Fellowship was coming out, so, like, that armor would have been available had the parents known that what he was into was Lord of the Rings. But that's such a... It was... I felt it was very, like...
And my thought is, like, old Halloween costume. Like, was he Lancelot last year for Halloween?
It was just the
It's
parents
whatever
said...
they had lying around that they wanted to play with.
Yeah, it just was the
Yeah,
parents
like-
said, like, oh, he likes fantasy. Let's get him... oh, he likes fantasy Star Wars. Fine.
Yeah, like, I'm sure there's a ton of pictures of me as a child in, like, increasingly ridiculous get-ups that are like, here's, Princess Leia's dress, but with, Princess Belle's tiara, or, you know what I mean? Like, you just cobble together your own little outfits.
And if we hadn't seen so much of Andrew's parents, I think that would have been, like, I think I would have been even more on board with, like, the slapdash costumes. Because I think that's part of it is also feels very true to the kids on bike genre is, like, the parents don't know what the kids are about, so they've just given them a bunch of random toys and said, go have fun. Because the parents are a nebulous, incomprehensible force that doesn't understand what's really going on with the kids' lives.
I think that the lightsaber was cheaper at the dollar store when the guy ran for props. That's what I think.
That's probably true.
I think that might have been that real child actor's lightsaber. I think he might have just brought his own stuff.
He might have just said, come with whatever you got, kid. Kid, you got 8 lines.
So, then we find out that, like, we see, Carl and Andrew are planning a prank on some girls they know.
Mm-hmm.
And, we find the grave that they have rigged up. They're gonna retell the ghost story to these girls. Mm-hmm. And Carl hides his Walkman with Mega Bass.
Mm-hmm.
And, the grave says that the child died in 1969. Which is pretty recent.
For Sepia Tone.
Yeah.
We were all like, oh, that child died in, like, the 1800s.
It's also, like, pretty recent to be just chopping up kids.
It's also pretty recent to just look at a child and go, oh, that's the evil twin.
Yeah, like, it seems a little far-fetched.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's, like, some 17th, 18th century, like...
No. Honey, the twins died. Get me my bone saw. We're only burying the good one in the nice plot.
What?
That one's the evil twin. What's the difference? Yeah, I know.
But you know what? Don't put first names on the stone. What?
So, Carl then proceeds to tell the story we just heard told 20 minutes ago by Frank Langella, crappily.
Siamese twins?
Siamese twins. There was this farmer's wife gave birth to these Siamese twins. But the farmer was so ashamed at them being freaks, he'd never let them out of the house. So they just lived up there, festering, eating dead spiders and mice. They never changed their clothes. They never cleaned their room. And they grew. And as they got older, it became clear that one twin was good. And the other, well, the other was evil. Then one day, one of the twins got really sick, and since they shared the same liver, the virus quickly spread through their bodies, and they both croaked. And not wanting to expose his shame, this farmer took a chainsaw and separated the bodies in two. He buried the evil twin out in the end of a little dirt road called Crybaby Lane. And legend has it, if you go out there in the middle of the night, you can hear the sound of the dead twin crying from beyond his grave.
And like, it's a thing that would have been really funny if they didn't make us sit through 2 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Like if they had cut back, or they had just sort of done a panning shot, and then had Carl been and then the farmer took a chainsaw and split the evil twin, and the evil twin fell in, and you're like, oh, he's retelling the story, but poorly.
Mm-hmm. Instead, he didn't embellish it at all or anything like that.
They just had him tell the whole story kind of badly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely disappointing, and I think the first time it's told, it's just black and white shots of a house. I feel like if you had seen more of it, and then when he told it, was like, a psycho clown with a chainsaw.
Yeah, if you had seen that, if they had done something, it just...
If they'd made it stylistically substantially different.
Yeah. So he tells the story, he plays a scary sound.
Yep.
That he taped over his
Summer Jam mix. Carl's Summer Jam mix.
Summer Party Jam.
Summer Party Jam.
Put it in my notes.
The girls get scared, and then they hear some other laughing, but it's not the tape, and then they all just go.
Well, then they hear the baby cry.
Mm-hmm.
They hear the baby cry. Oh, and then they see worms.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, worms.
And this is important. Worms are brought up in the very beginning, because that's what Carl calls Andrew.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Bennett, never mind Andrew. He's a worm.
Mom said.
Spineless.
Cut it out, Carl.
Bait.
Lay off.
Yeah.
And then the Undertaker was like, yeah, he is bait. I'm sorry, he said, you are bait! Yeah!
And then he said, I drove out to the desert.
No, we're not going there.
Alright, fine.
So, they go to the graveyard, and then this dog gets possessed, like a doggy does.
Yep.
Yes.
And
The
goes
dog
full
definitely just
Cujo.
lives in a
Yeah,
graveyard.
because the Undertaker goes to the graveyard, finds the guy that digs the graves and puts them in there.
What a character.
Whatever that job title is.
Gary? The job title's Gary?
Gary. The guy who owns the backhoe.
Who we meet sleeping in the
The
backhoe.
backhoe.
Yes.
Yes.
But not in the cab of the backhoe.
In the shovel.
In the shovel.
And I'd like to point out that, did you immediately take this to mean, oh, he's homeless? Because we then see his home later.
Oh, I took it to mean he's drunk, and then later we see him drink boxed wine.
Yeah.
That is true.
But the Undertaker meets Gary. They go to the kid's grave. They find a strawberry candle and Carl's Summer Party Jams, and then they see a dog. And the Undertaker says, "Oh, that's a sweetheart."
Yes,
and then
that's
it tackles Gary. Mm-hmm. And
then Frank Langella gets in the car.
And Frank Langella runs. Just booklet. And you're like, oh, is he leaving a man to die? And then he turns the car around. I'm pretty sure he's going to hit this dog with a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not into this part.
He drives as if he is going to run the dog over, but Gary is underneath the dog. And he's like, 2 birds! And he just guns it. He
hits the gas and says, rest in peace.
And he rolls out of the way. He opens the passenger door. He's like, get in, you numbskull! And they drive away.
Yeah.
And
Oh, and Gary pockets the Walkman.
Yes.
Yeah, Gary
The
Pocket.
Mega Bass.
And he looks to Frank Langella, and Frank Langella says, "If the president does it, it's not illegal."
And then he's like, well, I gotta go talk to Carl, because the fact that I found his
Carl's
Summer Party Jam mix and a candle is clearly the reason this dog is evil.
Well, there's also that weird scene where they set Gary up in his apartment, and he's trying to like get workman's comp.
Yeah, they do have a
And
long
he's like,
scene.
I should see a doctor. And then Frank Langella's like, oh,
No
doctors will kill
doctors.
you.
No doctors.
Doctors will kill you.
My Nixon's
I
not
know.
great. My Nixon's not great. Shut up.
You kind of just shake your cheeks. Is really
Oh.
Yeah, shake your cheeks and say "aroo."
Oh.
That's how Billy West does it.
that is.
Please edit that out later.
We'll see.
So, like, we have one of, like, 2 or 3 scenes that are just really pointless and stupid.
Really
to
neat.
kids.
Yeah.
So then, Andrew's writing a script for how he's going to apologize to the girl he likes that was at the graveyard the previous night. And then Carl just toxic masculinity is all over. And then there's my favorite part of the movie.
Attitude errors all over.
We need to talk about exactly what he says to him. He's like, here, let me write your script for you.
Yeah.
Oh. Kathy, I am a woman. I want to wear your Femi Scout uniform. There, perfect. Dial the phone.
It's not what you think it is.
Andrew, please, come on. You can't hide anything from me.
It's like, ew.
Yeah, it's very transphobic and
Gross.
very...
It's real gross.
It's human phobic.
Yeah, and then... But then that is followed by the best part of the movie, undisputably. When...
Which is?
Andrew goes like...
What am I supposed to say after last night? How do I apologize for raising the dead?
We didn't raise the dead.
Then what was it?
I don't know, wind. Who cares?
It wasn't wind.
That was.
He's like, that wasn't wind. And he leans back.
And he lifts his leg up and farts.
Says, yeah, but that was.
That was weird.
I'm gonna use that. You got ready, Jen.
And I just want to point out that we're all over 30.
Yeah.
The funniest thing on the planet.
That was weird.
That was such an elaborate setup for a fart joke.
But I have to give credit to Nickelodeon for, putting the effort in for that fart joke.
Committing that part.
Is this when he names drop Stone Cold?
Yes.
No, that's later.
Okay.
No, that's when they come back.
That's
from
yeah.
Because he says something like, "Oh,
Carl,
What?
maybe the seance worked.
Oh, yeah, maybe I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin.
all the wrestling references are way off the mark."
Yeah. Stone Cold Steve Austin, known for his bravery.
Yeah, it just makes no sense. So after this argument, the Undertaker, Mr. Bennett, shows up.
Not the actual Undertaker.
The Undertaker. How great would it have been if at this point in the movie, the literal wrestler, The Undertaker, rolls into town and then has to fight this evil child?
Now we're talking. Now we have a film.
Somebody give me Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
It's just been an elaborate setup for an Undertaker monster hunting movie.
Oh, yes! My Undertaker!
And then halfway through, he has to team up with the other Undertaker, and they're both just like, I don't understand you.
Yes. Ever since
You're not
we
even
fought-
an Undertaker, you're a mortician.
Well, you're a wrestler, and then they're partners.
So then,
But
they're back at the Undertaker's house, and
wait, before that happens is when the Undertaker shows up
at their house, right? And definitely doesn't sound like a. Oh wait, he does. He does
Yes.
sound exactly like a pedophile.
Hello, Ann. I need to talk to your boys.
About what?
Well, to tell you the truth, I'd rather not say. Are they here?
Yeah. I need to
The
talk
mom
to
is like,
kids.
he's like, I need to talk to your kids. The mom's like, why? I'd rather not say. It's a secret between me and your kids.
Wait, why do you have secrets with my children?
Yeah, like I'd be calling the cops. Like, I'm not.
I would be using much stronger language than I don't like you, and then putting my hand on my hip.
Sort of sassily.
And then he's like, I guess you're upset about your mom's funeral.
Yeah,
Yes, and that...
Which we never find out about.
They never explain what happened here. But she says, like, I'm sorry your mother was not presentable. And, like...
It's never brought up again.
Let's go around and let's all explain what we think that means.
Okay.
Jeff, we'll start with you. What do you think happened at this funeral?
I legitimately think... Well, I have to assume that they asked for an open casket funeral, but the mom was killed in some kind of an accident, and he could not reconstruct it, so they gave a closed casket funeral, and the mother was just like, I am outraged at this.
That is exactly what I thought.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I just thought he did a crap job and, like, her makeup wasn't right or something. Like there's ways to not look presentable.
Yeah.
And
maybe she
like,
looked too dead. Like, I know that's a thing in,
or,
like mortuary work.
I know a big complaint in mortuary work as well is that they don't look like themselves.
Yeah.
Like, if you know, say you have someone who doesn't wear makeup, like, ever, and then you go to the funeral and they're, like, very heavily made up.
Right.
Like, big winged eyeliner and big blue eyeshadow. Like, that's a way. Like... But we don't find out.
Yeah, but none of this matters because they don't explain.
Yeah, none of this matters because this is one throwaway line in this film.
This scene made me think that there was some kind of connection between the Undertaker and the mother.
And the family?
Yeah, and the family. That is like maybe he's an uncle of hers or something like that the kids have never found out about. But it's just like, it all felt very personal, and then it just never really expanded on that, which is very odd.
And if it were a better movie, that would have been, like, the secret. Like, it would have been, like, the mother having a moment of bonding with her kids and being like, I never told you why I don't want you to hang out with the Undertaker.
Yeah.
It's because, like, we were family and it hurts too much to see him. And then, like, all of the characters would bond together and, like, their sort of mutual, like...
Or that, like, you know, this has happened before, and she was part of the group that used to hang out.
Yeah, and you would have that sort of, like, it style, like, flashback experience. But, like, this movie doesn't understand what it's riffing on, so it just, like...
Especially because, like, if we line up the dates with this late 60s idea, a mother of a teenager and a 12-year-old would have been a child in the late 60s.
Yes.
Because you put her at, like, say she had the older kid at 25 and he's 15, so she's 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she could have known these twins.
She would have been 10 in
old,
1969, yeah.
Alright, so many ways to fix this.
There's so many ways that this movie could have been better than what it was.
And then the family has a fight because Andrew wants to go out for wrestling, which is interesting because Andrew wants to do a thing his brother loves.
Yeah.
It's Andrew trying to, like, bond with his brother, and his mom is, like, kind of putting a wedge there without meaning to.
Yeah, the mom has that line of, like...
I never said you couldn't go out for wrestling. It's a brutal sport, and I can't believe our public schools teach children to attack each other, but I never said you couldn't go out for wrestling. If I say go out for wrestling, would you eat your dinner? Go out for gladiating. Go out for dueling.
And I was like, man, if my school had offered...
Dueling.
Gladiators or dueling.
But that is such a great, like, mom moment. Of, like, you know, no, I don't. You can do that if you want. Yeah,
do this.
Jump off a bridge just because your friends are doing it. Go ahead. Who am I? I'm just your
But
stupid
we've lost
mother.
over the moment that I want to talk about.
I'm sorry.
Which is when, what does he say to? Oh, he said, what does he blame on the dad? What does Andrew say? Like, Dad says this.
You're overprotective. Dad always says that.
That's right. He says, you're overprotective. Dad always says, and then Dad goes, I'm going out to the yard.
Going out to the yard.
I wanted to see more of the dad. The dad was a funny character.
I didn't. The dad was a weirdo.
Everyone in this movie was a
Here's
weirdo.
the thing. If the mother and the dad were on the same page, and they were both, like, weird, you do your own thing, I'm not here for you kids, then everything else in the movie would have made sense.
Yeah.
Them going off to the Undertaker because they're looking for a parental figure. Them getting into trouble and not having authority figures to turn to because the parents are, like, lackadaisical. All of this would have made sense if there was not an obviously concerned, aggressively trying to, like, protect her children figure in the movie.
We made jokes about this, but it really does seem like the through line for the dad is he's incredibly sexually frustrated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, like, here's what we know about this character. Behind his wife's back, he says that she spends too much time with the kids. Then, we see him on a computer.
Yeah.
Like a 90s computer.
Just hitting buttons.
And, yeah, he's clearly not typing. Like, it's not like he's writing something. He's doing something where it's just like, click, click, click.
And then sitting for a while.
And then sitting. And then he's watching monster trucks. Later,
The second that the mother leaves,
he switches to, like, models walking down a runway. And
she comes back.
Yeah, the mother comes back and was like, the kids are gone.
And he hits the button.
He hits the button, and he gives a speech of, like...
They're gone.
And?
Go find them.
Look, Anne, you only had sisters. Boys are different. They need to explore. I think it's healthy. I mean, if there was some boogeyman out there. But what's going to happen? They get muddy? Yeah, I could drive all night long, never find them, maybe fall asleep behind the wheel. But what kind of message would that send? What are we really saying here?
And, like, I feel like if he had gotten a few more lines in, the rest of that is... And now we have the house to ourselves.
Yeah.
We go.
When's the last time that's been true? I've been looking at supermodels all night.
It's Milan Runway Week. Which is the thing I want to like emphasize is that like he's watching supermodels. It's not Victoria's Secret. They're wearing like full body.
It's from like House of Style, according to the credits.
They're watching House of Style, but he's watching it behind his wife's back. Like, oh yeah,
Doesn't want to get caught with that.
And so then the 12-year-old has a fight with his 9-year-old friend, and
oh, that was weird.
The 9-year-old is like, if you marry my mom, you could be my dad. And I was like, oh, this got sad.
That's weird.
Not now, Hall. Man, this is great. I'll go get my bike. Hall, you can't come. What? Because it's a girl? I know a girl for you.
Hall, what have I told you about breathing my air?
You don't scare me. Forget it, Hall. She likes you. I'm not going out with your mom. Yeah, but if you married her, you could be my dad. Hall, look. You're 9. I'm 12. I'm 12 years old. You gotta stop coming over. You're a good kid. My mom was right about you. You are pathetic.
Very weird and completely unnecessary.
Then
We also missed Cookie Dough will kill your baby.
Oh yeah.
Sorry I'm late, Mrs. Hunt. Cookie dough? That's gonna kill the baby.
The kids in this movie are terrible.
They're super weird.
Yeah.
But not in like the way that I would want them to be weird.
Yes. The fight with the 9-year-old friend, Hall, literally has no purpose.
No.
Well, the only reason it exists, and the only reason it exists is to frustrate me.
Yes.
Because, like, they've established that these two are friends, and that these two are sticking together, obviously, despite the fact that their parents are not a real factor, that the brother terrorizes Andrew, and that, like, the rest of the kids don't really get them. Mm-hmm. Which, in any other movie of this style, would mean that the two of them are going to team up to take on whatever, like, threat.
The evil.
They are going to be the losers club that is going to fight it, and, like, that is going to conquer it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This fight, all he does is then, the next time he sees his good friend, say, "You're 9, I'm 12, get out of here."
Yep.
What is the point of, like, the only point of that is so that Andrew is by himself when things happen.
Like, my only justification could be this is supposed to show that Andrew's trying to be more grown up.
And I could
And
see
it's in
that.
front of Carl. That
Yeah,
he
he's
says
trying
yes.
to impress Carl. I
Yeah.
could see that.
Meanwhile, there's a Girl Scout that I don't even know why she's bothering this family. But
Her friends are over. Like, she's going to her friend's
Oh, that's
house.
right. Yeah,
It's,
she's going to.
it's one of the girls'
Moms.
houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the mom's holding a baby and a thing of cookie dough.
Mm-hmm.
And she opens the door, and by way of greeting, this Girl Scout goes, "Cookie dough's gonna kill your baby."
As if the mom's just going to be spoon feeding the baby in the wrong.
And
Eat
I'm
it.
like, man, like, somebody really took their love of dead baby jokes way too far at Nickelodeon.
Like,
if this was a real horror movie, like, she would get possessed and kill her baby with the cookie dough. Like, that's what would happen. But instead, it's just like, well, that's over.
Well, and then they establish that, like, she's looking for her friends, and we see them run off because they've been possessed.
Well, yeah, we see the scene where the Girl Scout steps on the worms, and then her eyes turn white. And that means she's possessed by evil twin.
I did really like the acting from the young teenager girl actresses, because they just got real Mean Girls-y.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, they went from just being like, we're gonna go scared, to like, hey, everybody.
Like, but they felt very... Like, they actually felt more natural when they were possessed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
Let's play a game. Like, they felt like realistic Mean Girls.
Well, we should first point out that when they get possessed... The news calls it rabies, and they like
packs of evil rogue teen girls,
evil rogue teen girls knocking over mailboxes. It's like, wait a minute, is that what the evil twin made him evil? You're just a shitty dad.
Yeah, the evil twin is just puberty.
Yeah, it's just being a kid that you don't know how to handle, which is insane because there's a good child connected by the liver. I'm getting really heated. I'm getting really heated.
No, I didn't even consider that, but you're right. The evil children are just doing pranks and being rude. Like, that's their guideline for, like, the evil child that we locked in a closet until he died.
I want to knock over some mailboxes. Really? When you die, you're going in an unmarked grave in the yard.
Well, into the attic with you.
Sometimes when we record this podcast, I wonder what our neighbors think.
Well, guess you're gonna die in the attic. What about me? I just wanted to stay home and study. Sorry, only one liver. Can't let the neighbors know my shame.
So then, we have a sequence where Carl leads Andrew into a prank where he loses his clothing and the girls pelt him with what look like water balloons while he's in his underwear, because we see too much of this kid.
See, this is the question I had. We have this moment where Andrew and Carl get separated by a train.
Carl has dared Andrew to cross the train tracks when a train is coming.
Right. So then Carl's evil and takes him to a barn. And, like, this is his evil plan, is tricks him to fall into a pile of poo, strips him down to his underwear, tells him to go stand by the space heater, which isn't a thing. And then when he turns around, the girls are there and they pelt him with stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, one, we don't know what they were pelted with. Because I believe, Jeff, you said lemons?
They looked like lemons.
I thought they were water balloons.
You said water
I
balloons.
also thought they might have been eggs.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what they were. They were brightly colored.
I jumped right to balloons full of piss. And, like, there is no evidence that it was balloons full of piss.
No, there really
Maybe
isn't.
because he fell into poop. It's like, well, the next logical step would be piss. But that's immediately where I went.
Man, give you one fart joke and look where you go.
But like, then they vanish. And I was trying to, like, understand, are we supposed to understand that didn't really happen?
Well, I mean, he's not wearing clothes for the rest of that sequence.
Like, I understood that he took his clothes off. Like, that happened, clearly. But then he gets pelted with stuff, and then everyone's just gone. I was like, did he really get pelted with stuff, or was that just, like...
Then there's a bull, though.
Yeah, so did a bull happen as well, is the next question.
And then a bull tries to murder the child.
Because
he
is wearing red underwear, and bulls hate the color red.
And then, like, the adults are possessed and they burn a boat.
Yeah. Then he, like, runs to, like, a house full of hillbillies.
Yeah, but before we even get to that, like, how does he get away from the bull?
Someone opens the door.
So, like, a farmer slams the door between them.
Yeah, someone saves him, and then we never see who that was, nor does he help him again. It's just like, I saved you from the bull. Be gone, naked child. And then the child runs naked through the town.
Must be Tuesday.
Yeah.
What is this?
And then, like, in another creepy thing, he ends up at the Undertaker's house in, like, clothes he stole.
Yes.
Yeah, from the hillbillies.
Yeah.
Yes. Who set a boat on fire?
They blow up a boat?
But have some clothes laying around that Andrew steals. So then Andrew turns up in, like, grown-up men's clothing. And that's where his parents find him.
Yeah, at the Undertaker's.
Which we have an entirely needless scene.
With Jim Gaffigan.
With Jim Gaffigan, who just shows up.
And argues with the Undertaker.
About cold cuts. Because he tried to charge him $30.
Here, look, see, it's all itemized.
I never asked for cold cuts.
$30 for coffee? Are you trying to exploit us?
I just assumed.
Typical.
It's standard stuff.
Tell him your uncle's a lawyer.
You want lawyers involved?
Dan, come on. We're friends, huh?
No, we're not.
For coffee. Yeah. Which, given the amount of coffee that you would have at your average, like, viewing, is not that expensive.
Well,
I will stand by The Undertaker on this.
Well, here's the thing. Is that usually a thing?
Coffee at like a viewing?
No, you don't usually have. At least viewings I've attended. You don't
cold
have
cuts.
You don't have food and drink at the viewing. You have them at the reception afterwards at the repast.
It's like we're gonna have a viewing. We're gonna say some prayers. We have turkey, ham, and salami. Like that seemed weird.
I guess I was thinking more like a wake, where like they were having it at like the party at the same time.
You're thinking of the repast.
Yeah, like that could be what they were putting together.
Yeah.
But that's more of a mortician. That's more of a that's
a funeral director.
That's a fourth job that this man has. Now that you mention it, yes, that is a fourth job that Frank Langella. And on top of this, there's the weird scene in which he reveals that he thinks Prince Adam might be He-Man.
Well, and actually in the scene there is a reveal that Frank Langella was the one who separated the bodies.
Yes. He's like, by the way, I got some details I didn't tell you earlier.
See, this is... Let me follow the information we gain here. Jim Gaffigan is upset because he's charging him for coffee and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, come on, we're friends. And he says, no, we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thought is, okay, he's lonely. He needs the money. They're not they're expecting him to throw in free stuff.
This doesn't look like a large town. How many people here are like using the funeral home on a regular basis?
So like, all right, this makes sense. Then we cut to inside where he says, "Help me get this loser into a cheaper box," while he's stealing the dead body's socks.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're reusing the coffin to sit. Okay, this is beyond, like, saving money. This is a scam.
Oh, can we also talk... this reminds me... The small town comment reminds me of a tiny beat earlier that I really want to acknowledge.
Yeah?
Was when The Undertaker's talking to the mother. He says, he's like, so I think something important has happened. T-Bone's dog attacked Greg?
Gary.
Attacked Gary. T-Bone's dog attacked Gary? He says this as though the mother will not only know who Gary is, but will know who T-Bone is, who we never meet.
We never meet T-Bone. But the point I'm trying to get to here is when he then goes to reveal his last detail, he says,
Andrew, let me tell you a story.
Not now.
Listen. It's about the farmer who had the Siamese twins. Well, there was something I forgot to mention. After the twins died, and they were separated, there was a mistake.
And?
The bodies got put into the wrong graves. The good son was buried out in the field, and the evil one was put in the grave where you had your seance last night. I think you roused an evil spirit. And I think everything it comes across turns evil.
You're telling me one story, and now you're telling me another story.
I'm the one who separated the bodies.
The only explanation we get is...
I'm a bad undertaker. I'm much better with animals.
Let's look at all the leaps in logic we have to get to for this. And I know it's a Nickelodeon scary movie, but he is such a bad undertaker that he separates these children, switches them, realizes it and does nothing to stop himself.
Well, he may have realized it after, but that raises the question of how.
Yeah. I guess what would have to happen is one is in the ground, and he's like, all right, and now the other one.
Oh, shit, that's the evil twin.
Shit!
But then he can't go back to correct his mistake.
Time to bury this other one in the yard by Crybaby. Look. Oh. Put him already all the way over here.
I'd have to get gas for the backhoe. Put the gas in the backhoe.
Get Gary out of the bathroom, sleeping in there.
Use the it's staying here. Fuck it. This will never come up.
It's almost the 70s. This thing happens all the time.
When I tell this story, I'm leaving this part out.
Yeah.
This is embarrassing.
But yeah, so then his parents show up, or his mom shows up, and he is wearing adult clothes, being in the basement. It does not look good.
Yeah, he's just... There is like a weird moment where they shut the kid in the basement, which is very odd. But yeah, like, this is an already creepy guy that's already been told to stay away from the kids. It's the middle of the night, and her son's clothing is gone. The line is something along the lines of, like, I'm here, I'm taking my son back. Hi, it's good to see you.
I'm reporting you. I don't know to who, but...
You look nice.
You look nice.
Yeah, so... And then, Carl kind of apologizes, and, like, we have this moment at home where the brothers seem to reconcile, and then we go to Gary at his house, drinking boxed wine, waiting for a lady.
But before we get to Gary, this is the one moment where I was like, ooh, good sibling writing here. Mm-hmm. But I don't understand it. Carl apologizes for taking Andrew to Bennett's. Mm-hmm. But what he really should be apologizing for is stripping him naked, throwing him in poop, and covering him in piss balloons.
And getting
We
him
don't know that they're piss
murdered by
balloons.
a bull.
Yeah. But he doesn't do that. And there's that moment of recognition of like, oh, that's all you told Mom. I'm not going to be a tattletale. I accept your apology. It's like, you believe that he is possessed by an evil spirit. This is not Pride time.
That's the other thing. Andrew doesn't want to go back to the house with his mother because he says, no, Carl's there. I don't want to go back. His mom thinks it's because they're fighting and Carl's been bullying him and stuff. But really, it's because he's like, no, he's possessed by this evil baby twin.
And then, like, what I took that moment as is Andrew going, oh, you're possessed. Mm-hmm. If I cross you right now, you're going to, like, possess my parents, and then I'm just then they're all just going to, like, bury me in the yard.
He didn't want it to, like, escalate any further right there.
Yeah, that was Andrew going, oh, this is you. You're playing a good child to Mom because you're secretly possessed by an evil twin.
Yeah.
Now I know the game.
And his actions later
Carl
reflect that he would know that.
Carl would not apologize.
Yeah, this is Andrew. This is the moment in which Andrew goes from being, like, a reactive character to an active character and saying, oh, now I understand the terms on which I have to fight you.
So then, now the action picks up a lot, because now we're kind of like...
Now the Monsters theme is really just playing on a loop.
So, Gary drinking his boxed wine, Ben the Undertaker tries to warn him, Gary fakes an injury so that he can get workers' comp some more.
I have to play this clip, so I want to bring it up.
Oh, okay.
Did you guys pay attention to the song he's dancing around?
There's a lot of, like, 90s tech references.
It is a country song about someone who likes computers.
She's a one-of-a-kind, open-minded, good-natured, line-dancing, witty, pretty, fun-loving gal. Got a bubbly personality you could bottle up and sell.
Say you, baby. It's Ben.
CD-ROM, determined not to stare. Wishing he would ask her out, but thinks he does. He's a disk drive, gigabyte, mini disc, megabyte, RAM, ROM, fun-loving man.
So fine.
He's a CD-ROM, hard drive, AOL, online.
It dates the movie really charmingly.
Yeah, let's talk about all our futuristic stuff, like CD-ROMs and our...
hard drive.
And it's really the only thing in the movie that really, like, drives home when it takes place. Otherwise, it would be somewhat, like...
It has that kind of... It has
that pre-tech timeless.
Yeah, it has that Stephen King style, this was your childhood, no matter what time period your childhood was.
Because I always consider, like, these things between, like, the 40s and the 90s, you've got, like...
that's a good point.
The wrestling references dated.
Also dated really specifically.
Yeah, very specifically in the Attitude Era.
The really specific corporate ministry Undertaker poster.
But when you have, like, between, like, the 40s and the 90s, you have this idea of, like, I always think of it as, like, pre-tech timeless, like, before kids had cell phones. Cell phones kind of ruined that.
Yeah.
But you kind of have this 50 years where childhood was sort of this very similar experience.
Cell phones is like
which is what the Kids on Bikes genre is built off of.
Yeah.
Is that, like, no matter what decade you are in, like that childhood experience of we're just going out to a place and exploring, and mysterious things could happen is built on that. And this movie almost gets it.
Because I remember, like, The Sandlot was released in the 90s, but took place in the 60s, but still felt somewhat contemporary.
Oh,
at the time.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good comparison.
So then we have the dorky little Lord of the Rings LARP boy shows up and...
Beats an old man?
Beats an old man with a lightsaber, steals his ring, and calls it his precious.
Which never really comes up again.
That he's, like, possessed, but also still himself. So, this kind of guys in this idea of, like, when you're possessed by the evil twin, you're just the worst part of yourself.
You're just your worst possible self.
You're not really acting as the evil twin would act. Because the girls are still decidedly feminine.
The girls are mean girls. Carl is the worst of his bullying impulses, and then he tries to literally have his kid brother murdered.
And then the 9-year-old is just like worst dork.
Way too deep into the LARP. Yeah.
So then Andrew tries to find him. Oh, well, then we have the sequence where Carl picks the lock, and the still that everybody uses for Crybaby Lane is with Carl with the white blanked out eyes in the foggy shower mirror.
Yes, and it's also like kind of cracked down his face.
Yeah, it's like that iconic still.
Yeah, it's a good shot. It's a great shot.
And it's because, you know, someone else is trying, like, there's way too much of, like, Carl catching his brother not wearing clothing. Like, it's a theme throughout it.
Yeah, there's a lot of kid nudity in this, and I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, it's very odd, because it's not like an explicit fear Andrew would have. Like, Andrew seems to be afraid to be vulnerable and afraid to be, like, to make mistakes. We see that when he is writing the script to call Kathy. He's afraid to make mistakes. He's afraid of looking, I guess, emotionally naked.
Yeah.
So maybe this, like, thing of him constantly being caught in a vulnerable state is meant to echo that. It's just not executed well.
No.
But, so Andrew tears open the shower curtain. The shower is running, or Carl tears open the shower curtain. Shower is running. Andrew is gone.
Yes.
He is running to see Mr. Bennett the Undertaker, who's out cold with the lightsaber next to him.
Yes, and this... The wording here is very interesting, because they find him, and he goes, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Bennett, Ben
Bennett.
His name is Ben Bennett.
Uncle Ben Bennett.
Uncle Ben Bennett.
Uncle
Benny
Ben
Bennett. What a terrible name.
Uncle Ben?
And then we meet... No, he hasn't really done anything
We have not
yet.
talked about the nephew yet.
So now we get creepy Kenneth.
Did Ben die?
No.
His last words are "waiter, check, please," and then unconsciousness.
We see him at the end talking to Andrew and Kathy.
Oh, right. Okay. Edit point.
Because you don't want to be wrong.
No.
Okay. So, then we have Kenneth, who is Ben's creepy protege nephew. He's baby Crispin Glover.
Introduced wearing, like, real taxidermy gear.
I definitely got, like, a Crispin Glover vibe from him.
Yeah.
That, like, shaky, you.
He sleeps, apparently, on the mortician's work table with the lights out and a blanket entirely covering him. Yeah. Oh.
Like, he's creepy and odd. And he's got the potential to be a really good character, but they don't really cash in on.
Yeah, but we are 85% through the movie, and we're really just getting to know him now.
But they need to get to Crybaby Lane because they need to get the weed growing through the good twins' heart.
A weed grows in every grave that is connected to the soul of the person buried there. They accidentally pulled out the weed of the evil child in the original grave, so now they have to go pull out the other weed to balance the force. It's not really made clear.
Yeah,
We
it
learned
doesn't
this
make a lot
from
of
Gary,
sense.
by the way. Gary's the
Yeah,
one who
Gary
reveals
knows this,
all
like,
this.
deep lore.
Good old box wine Gary.
Drunk on box wine, faking workers' comp, goes, by the way, I got a ghost story for you.
There's a lot of leaps in logic. There's like, oh, it's clearly a possession from an evil twin, and like, this is the only way to solve it. Are you sure?
Yeah, hey, my name's Gary.
So then, like, Kenneth and Andrew get in the car. Kenneth's like, I've got a license. And Andrew's like, I don't know how to get there. I do. And so there's, like, this weird madcap car sequence with Kenneth, who is not a good driver, driving Andrew around, and then the cops chase them. The cops have the whited out eyes.
And they're trying to smash the car off the road and murder them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Andrew GTAs Kenneth and shoves him over and starts driving and is a better driver. And then they drive into the middle of a cornfield.
Yes.
Because it's a horror movie.
And then he gets chased by a guy on a corn, like a harvester?
Like a thresher, yeah.
Yeah.
A wheat
thresher, yeah.
Yeah, and this is where you bring this up, and so I think it's a good time to bring it up in the podcast. We see a hearse get destroyed by farm equipment.
Yep.
What was the budget for this film?
The budget for this film was $800,000.
It's not a lot of money.
No.
To make a movie.
No, this was supposed to be a full theatrical release when it was planned originally.
Really?
They lost a few scenes,
Okay.
but all of them, they said they actually were able to keep most of the major set pieces they wanted intact.
Okay.
But I think it also is, like, why we have the little house and, like, the awkward angles and...
This actually brings up a very specific thing that frustrated me to no end in this. And it feels like it was reshoots because it was on Nickelodeon. No one is even remotely hurt in this film.
Well, I took that as Nickelodeon thing.
That's what I mean. I feel like if this was a theatrical release, this thing that frustrated me might not have been there. Because, like, the dog mauls Gary. Except then he gets up and goes, no, I'm fine. Dog didn't touch me.
It's internal injuries.
Then the thresher smashes the hearse. It flips. Kenneth crawls out of the back.
Kenneth doesn't crawl out of the back till the end, though. Like, he is presumed dead.
Yeah, and then, like, there's that... It's what is clearly, like, a later filmed shot of Kenneth, like, rolling out of the back, like, I'm fine, everybody.
It was very Invader Zim, like the Iggins episode.
Yeah. Everyone must be shown as alive and fine.
Yeah, and so that felt like very, like, a Nickelodeon conceit, which if it was a theatrical release, Gary probably would have been dead real early.
Yeah.
Gary probably wouldn't have made it out of the original.
He probably would have been mauled by a
scene.
dog, and then Kenneth would have been flipped in the car, and then there probably would have been some other deaths along the way.
But then we wouldn't
We
have
would have
gotten...
lost at least one of the girls, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
That guy in the car. The girls throw a pumpkin at a car and it flies into a lake, and then the guy again
just walks out of it. Like,
yeah, like that guy probably would have been killed.
Yeah. That's a good point. But he ends up just getting to Crybaby Lane basically by luck.
Yeah, and then, like, the girls... Then he gets surrounded by the girls.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
And
this is very important.
And they are in full, like, mean girl gang.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's 6 or 7 of them. Only 3 of whom we know.
Mm-hmm. I think 4 of them, because I think the Girl Scout
4,
is
because
there.
the cookie dough girl. Yeah. And then, like, 3 or 4 more girls who we never see from or hear from again. And they're putting him up to kiss the girl he likes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Kathy.
Kenneth?
Hi, Andrew.
Hi.
Hi.
What do you want?
We're bored.
Yeah.
We want to play a game.
I'm busy. Maybe some other time.
You'll like this game. Kiss me, Andrew.
What? I want you to kiss me. Don't you like me? I know what's happened to you. Kiss and tell. No!
You have a choice, Andrew. Kiss or Chi-Chi.
What's Chi-Chi?
Kiss Kathy.
Kiss or Chi-Chi.
Or Chi-Chi. And I will say, there's a moment where he's about to kiss her, and she opens her mouth, and a spider is on her tongue. Calling back to what The Undertaker said randomly earlier of, you know, you eat 5 spiders in your sleep, right? That's just a fact. But
that's why I don't sleep.
We're going to go around the room again. Guys, what's Chi-Chi? What do you guys think Chi-Chi is? We'll start with Laura on this one. Laura, what is Chi-Chi?
It looked like it was a gang beating. Like, it looked like one of them dropped him to the ground. They all started kicking him.
Okay. Jeff, what's Chi-Chi?
I had assumed it was sacrificing him to the evil child. Like, maybe we would have found out the child's name was Chi-Chi.
Oh, all right, okay.
Evil twin Chi-Chi.
Jen, do you have a guess what Chi-Chi could be?
Well, I had thought about similar to Laura's, except I just thought it would be, I guess, that really big Girl Scout who comes out, just beating the crap out of him.
Yeah, they bring out this giant Girl Scout who we've never seen before.
Becky, I think, was her name.
I think so.
But, like, we had never seen Becky before,
Nope.
have we?
Nope.
I assumed that was Chi-Chi.
If they had blatantly been like Chi-Chi, and then she like cracks her knuckles,
yeah, it's Chi-Chi time,
and like that would have like I would have actually loved that. Had they been like, oh, you don't want that Chi-Chi, and then she like, you know, what would have been cool if she had done the neck crack.
I also thought it was going to be one of those situations where he's like, "What's Chi-Chi?" and they're like, "It's kissing."
There was a hot second where I thought Chi-Chi was going to be Carl in the dress and, like, bring back that idea of, like, oh, he wants to wear your scout outfit.
Oh my god, that would have been so good!
Because, like, for a second, like, because we'd never seen this, like, taller Girl Scout before, I thought it was Carl, because who brings in a random character we've never met 10 minutes before the end of the movie.
Which, and would have been so much better because he defeats this giant Girl Scout with a
With
drop
a
toe
hold
that his brother showed him earlier. So, like, that would have made this movie so much better.
Yeah, and then, like, Andrew gets to the grave, and he's pulled underground the way Carl was when he was possessed, and the creepy entity, who just looks like a slime ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who's like a full-grown adult?
Yeah.
That's just never explained.
He looks like Skull from Power Rangers.
A little bit.
Yeah, I got Robbie Rotten from him. He's just like, me, I'm doing stuff.
Never explained why he's an adult and not a child.
Yeah, it was very ambiguous. How old were these kids when they died? Because
they were 26.
Because they were like, it's Crybaby Lane, and you can hear the baby crying. But then they were
twins old enough that you can identify
by
one
an
as
evil and a good one.
And then we see there's a full-grown adult in the ground.
But not so old that Frank Langella would be able to tell them apart.
Well, I'm guessing he continued to age.
Then he should have been older.
He should have been much, well...
He should have been the mother's age.
No. Jeff?
Because if he was 1969...
Yeah, we established that fit in the timeline.
Remember when the kid had a lightsaber?
Yeah.
And he was saying Tolkien? Bullcrap!
I'm just like...
We should have Jeff and Jen on all the time, because I really love that now when I disagree with Noah, I'm objectively right because of mob rule.
Which is the opposite of objective.
I feel like it's worse. I feel like when you correct me when it's just the two of us, I'm just like, oh, okay. But here I'm like, no, you're all wrong. You're all against me. And I'm correct. How's the 9-year-old going to carry around all of Tolkien's work?
I'm putting you on my enemies list.
You nincompoop.
You don't think you won't pay. All of you will pay.
Oh my god, you're gonna have such a hell of a time editing this podcast.
Yeah. I'm just making stuff worse for myself.
So, and then, they, like...
He confronts Beetlejuice.
Eats a bunch of worms, and then I'm Googling when the Boogeyman debuted. The Boogeyman debuted in 2004, after this film.
Yeah.
Oh, so...
Yeah, it definitely was not a...
It was inspired by wrestling, and then it inspired wrestling.
Because I genuinely did have the thought of, like, oh, did they steal this from the Boogeyman if the Boogeyman had not debuted 4 years later?
Well, the father at one point does say, if there was a boogeyman out there, we would know. We wouldn't let the kids run around and explore like that. And then suddenly...
So, Boogeyman origin story confirmed?
Yes.
Yeah. If I ever get to ask The Undertaker, Mark Calloway, one question, it will be his thoughts on this movie, because they talk about him in it.
They ask you, they bring you up so much.
So, Andrew succeeds and pulls the weed, and then it's daytime.
Yeah.
Then it's daytime, and everyone is fine. No one remembers what happened. And then we cut to...
Andrew flowers growing up.
Yeah, Andrew picks one of the dead guy flowers and hands it to Kathy, and Kathy's like, what, no card? So meanly that I was like, is she still possessed?
Yeah, it was cunning. It was cutting.
Like, it was very mean.
And then it cuts to...
Oh, and then the bigger girl, like Chi-Chi, or Becky, or whoever, also comes out of the field not remembering what happened. And Kathy's excited to see her and hugs her.
Yeah.
And then we see Kenneth crawl out of the car. And then we see the guy driving the Thresher being like, oh my god, what happened?
I think I chipped a tooth. I think I lost my mind. Can you help me? Well, I was just in a limo crash. Like, you almost murdered me. But let me help you.
And it's been around
and then
Carl apologizes.
Yeah, Carl actually apologizes. And then we cut to Andrew with his arm around his lady.
Talking to The Undertaker.
The Undertaker
While
tells
Kenneth
the story.
Carries a taxidermied hyena.
Because he said earlier, I'm better with animals.
Yeah. And two important parts here is Kenneth says something like, ooh, tell the story where we're embalming the person who wasn't dead all the way yet. Yet, implying they did not stop.
implying that they killed the man.
And then we see Carl hanging out in the Hobbit hole.
Yes.
With Hall.
Which they never interact before this.
Well, is this supposed to, like, be kind of like a downgrade? Like, Andrew is now up because he's a hero. He's with the girl. He's not afraid of these stories. And now Carl is down. He's with the 9-year-old.
But he's also happy.
Yeah.
This is... I said this when we watched it. I wanted that to be, like, the intro... To be, like, early in the movie. To have it be, like... Because it would have also amped the fact up that Carl is specifically hates Andrew.
Yeah.
Which would have, like... So what I wanted... I feel like if we had started with Carl, like, loving wrestling with this Tolkien-loving kid... that Andrew is sort of vaguely annoyed by. And Carl is mean to Andrew. It plays up the fact that Carl is specifically mean to Andrew and not just sort of misanthropic.
Yeah.
And it plays up that sibling rivalry because, look, he's being nice to this kid who is both younger and super weird. Like, it would have made Carl a more interesting character and a more interesting villain if he's like, yeah, I'm nice to other people, I just don't like you because you're my brother.
Yeah.
And, like, it would have just added, and it would have made Andrew being a little hesitant to hang out with Hall. It would have made that part make more sense. And then your group of characters who are your protagonists all have interesting intertwined relationships, which makes all of the drama and the characters turning evil way more interesting. Why is this the last thing that we see in the movie?
And we never see any of the other girls.
No.
Just Kathy, because she's a love interest.
Like, I really watched that scene and went, like, this should have been our introduction to these characters. Yeah. And then we see Carl be mean to Andrew and we go, oh, there's a sibling rivalry.
Yeah. And then, like, it just kind of ends.
It just ends.
Well, then we hear scary kid laughter, and then it ends.
Yeah, and then we're going under the ground, and then credits.
Yep.
And then the Monsters theme plays.
Yeah.
So, Laura, I know you've been doing some research here. Is there anything you need to add about Crybaby Lane?
They only really mentioned 2 scenes that were cut. One that alluded to skinny dipping.
We had to get them naked
more
one
nudity.
more time.
Yep.
Which
needed more nudity.
I'm wondering if that was like the original meaning of Chi-Chi, or if like
That would have made sense. If they, that would have made sense.
making it more of like a dare.
Okay.
And then like that's why they awkwardly shoehorned in that like the tall Girl Scout.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
And then apparently in the graveyard there was a shot of like an old man's head in a baby's body that was like too creepy, and Nickelodeon was like, no. So Nickelodeon and Peter Lauer claimed to be unaware of the controversy.
Okay.
They claimed to be unaware that, like, of complaints, and they just said like, it just got forgotten about. The screenwriter and director Peter Lauer just kind of thought the movie tanked.
See,
and my biggest plot hole with that is like, Nickelodeon will re-air damn near anything.
Yeah, for years, I watched that stupid movie about Mark Summers in a haunted museum that turned out to just be magic tricks. Do you guys remember that one?
No.
Here's the thing. I also I remember at least one Nickelodeon movie that they showed once, and to my knowledge never showed again, because it legit haunted my brain. There's a movie that has Tim Curry, a Nickelodeon film that is, all I remember about it is it has Tim Curry, and some children are helped by a mysterious bald giant who has to run through a field of poison. He carries the children with his hands over their mouths and then dies. This is all I remember about this Nickelodeon film.
I think you might be off with it being a Nickelodeon film.
Is that Worst Witch, you think?
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a Nickelodeon
Did that have a bald guy that died in a field of poison? Like a radiated field or something?
Because I thought maybe it was an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? But I don't think they ever got Tim Curry. I know they got Gilbert Gottfried's in an episode of...
They do have Gilbert. Anyway, I do remember that there are, like, Nickelodeon movies that, like, just came and went.
Yeah, I seem to remember a Thanksgiving special where, like, the turkey rebels and has a knife. So it's like a cooked turkey
kind of
with a knife. And I remember it was the scariest thing I'd ever seen when I was 4 years old.
There's definitely like Nickelodeon stuff that they aired and then just like it didn't go anywhere. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just aired this and said, all right,
guess that didn't work out.
And one thing I think we need to bring up is the multiple references to Stephen King.
Yes, definitely.
There's a lot of weird Stephen King random Stephen King references.
Because, like, the dog jumping up at the window in the car.
Clearly Cujo.
Cujo.
The train tracks to Stand By Me.
Right.
There's a lot of instances, that car chase where, even though it's not the car that's possessed, the person driving the car is possessed, which is very much like Christine.
And the specific shots, they're like... That was the specific shots when they shows the person possessed. They get that really specific Christine shot from the movie where it's like shot from slightly under the car, and you just get those really haunting headlights.
Yeah,
we see that every time somebody's in a car. They go for that shot.
Also, there's a moment where Carl is ripping up Andrew's homework into strips, which is very Langoliers. It's that, like, just the way it's being done in strips.
And there's the line about I'm a bad undertaker. I'm better with animals. Implies that he runs the pet cemetery.
Yeah. There's a lot of, like, references like that.
Which is a fifth job.
A fifth job for this poor man. I just want to tell kids stories, but I gotta work all these jobs. No wonder he's got to charge for coffee and cold cuts.
I just assume.
So, unless you have any other fun facts about this film.
The movie was re-aired in 2011, and the advertising took huge advantage of the creepypasta culture that sprung up around this film. because there's a lot of mythos now with lost media.
Mm-hmm.
Especially given the idea that, you have people who are... This was just as the internet was taking its genesis, that, everyone kind of remembered this movie of a certain age, but couldn't find it anywhere. And we're not used to not being able to find anything.
Yeah.
So when the movie was re-aired on what was then the 90s or all that, now was the Splat, they made the marketing for it incredibly creepy.
Okay.
We watched it, I think you were in the bathroom, or screaming, I'm not sure. But we watched the trailer, and, it was the movie so scary. Nickelodeon buried it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
They definitely leaned into what...
I was kind of getting the impression as we were watching this rip that the bit was... It wasn't advertised, and it was kind of airing as a mistake. Because the whole time we watched it, there were bugs at the bottom saying...
Keenan and Kel.
Keenan and Kel is on! And when we were looking for it on YouTube, there were a few videos of people, shooting cell phone video of, oh my god, Crybaby Lane is on.
Yeah.
So it's not something what I was expected to
I thought, it was just people, I sat down to watch Keenan and Kel, and this thing I thought didn't exist is on. So I wasn't sure if that's what it was going for, but, you guys saw the commercial. But Mr. Creepypasta, friend of the show, does a whole video on the creepypasta for Crybaby Lane, and I'll link that below as well, so you can enjoy that.
Yes, that was cool. It's cool that they brought it back. So it's kind of that interesting twist on Stay Tuned versus Stay Doomed. Of this movie, Nickelodeon's full plan was for it to stay doomed, and then because of this second life it found, because it was doomed, it ended up coming back.
Well, what are your verdicts here? Should this have stayed buried, or should it, be a new staple of Halloween specials?
I think the interesting thing with it is it loses a lot of its mystique being released, but no one was ever going to stop trying to find it until it was found.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, I think that the fan cult that's grown around it, the creepypasta and all that, the hype for it, the nostalgia for it is definitely a lot more interesting than the movie itself. And
absolutely,
because this is a definite stay doomed for me.
Yeah,
because we talk about this mystique that it had. If it had stayed buried in just a thing that got talked about, that would be very interesting. And also, I think one of the things that added to this mystique is the movie is very confusing.
Yeah.
If you're 12...
If I tried to explain this to somebody as a movie that I saw...
Yeah.
I would not be able to do
Especially if you saw it once in your life, and you're trying to remember it 10 years later. You'd only have little fragments in your mind of a movie that is so illogical, maybe you did just make it up. So I think that's what really is the appeal to this, is that there was a time where it was this might not be a thing. I have memories, but they don't make enough sense to me.
But then 5 years later online, you hear someone else talk about it, and you're like, oh my god, you saw that too? So I wasn't imagining that.
It's a stay doomed, and I kind of wish, nothing is mysterious these days because we have so much access to information. It would have been really interesting had this never really resurfaced and people just talked about it at parties.
Speaking of being able to find anything, the movie was Doom Runners. It was actually the first ever original Nickelodeon original film. It involves a group of children in a post-apocalyptic world searching for the last unpolluted place on Earth, New Eden. However, the Doom Troopers, led by Dr. Cow, who is played by Tim Curry, want to get there first and will do anything to stop the children.
This movie is much more recent than I thought it was.
This is a weird...
1997. I sort of assumed it was going to be 1986.
It was originally broadcast on Showtime and then on Nickelodeon.
It's pretty funny. The video... Oh, man. Next 5th Monday.
Yeah. We'll have to do this one again. So... It's a stay tuned for me. Did anyone want to vote stay tuned for this one?
I can't.
No.
I don't want
to ever watch that again.
I can't really
I don't want to watch it again, but I kind of... it's added this really fun mystique to the creepypastas that revolve around lost episodes of like, look, one of them was real.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a fun, like, who knows?
Yeah, Squidward suicide's out there.
Yeah, I think it was better in theory than it was in practice.
Yeah.
Like, when I read about it, I was like, oh, this sounds kind of cool and creepy, and then, like, it just kind of didn't.
I also want to point out that, like, there was never a moment where I'm like, oh, this is why it's too scary. Because there's not a monster in it. Like, the monster is just someone you know. And I guess, like, that can be creepy where it's like, oh, it could be anybody. But that's the same villain from Animorphs, which is a whole series that Nickelodeon does.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, like, I kind of don't buy this got complaints and was too scary. Because, like, I've never been naked in front of a bull. I've never seen that, tractor thing.
Yeah.
I don't know a creepy mortician, undertaker, taxidermist. Like, there's nothing in here that I was like, this will scar me for life whenever I see that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy that. I don't buy it.
No, it was really no scarier than... I mean, it was, to me, less scary than a lot of episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, there are many scarier.
Doom Runners definitely scarred me way more than I think that movie would have, even as a terminally frightened 12-year-old child.
Because, like, I'm picturing the creepy pool thing from Are You Afraid of the Dark, and that single shot of the thing coming out of the pool, much scarier than anything in this film.
Yeah, the aliens with no face.
Like, the point where I was talking about it, and then Jen sprung out from
I
behind
was gonna ask if
jumped.
you mean the one with the boarding school with like the lizards and all that?
No, the red, like, blood-covered John.
I was actually I specifically was afraid of the pinball episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, where the giant pinball chases the kid on the escalator.
It's all very terrifying. More terrifying.
More terrifying than this was not that scary.
And like you said, even Animorphs had darker themes and stuff to it.
And like the thing about the scary factor in this is like you pointed out, Laura. Like you pointed out, like the terror, like the people aren't being like supernaturally scary. Like they're just being their worst selves. If they had sort of pushed that further and like Carl went from being, I feel like if this were a better produced movie, Carl would have gone from being like a bullying jerk to like murderous, and you would have seen him like murdering, like going serial killer and like attacking animals and trying to kill Andrew. And the girls would have been, instead of like playful pranksters, we would have seen them murder. Like that guy would have died, and the girls would have been like just running. You would have just seen them throughout the movie.
He wasn't very good at the game.
Yeah, you would have just seen them throughout the movie just, like, trashing the town.
Yeah.
And, like, that would have been scary because it's like, oh, we can't stop this. Instead, it's just some people are dicks and some hillbillies blew up a boat.
Their own boat.
They owned.
Yeah, presumably, like, they might have just already done that because there was a line of gasoline to the boat, which had been doused in gasoline. I'm not sure they were possessed.
That's a good point.
Oh, we were possessed, insurance company.
Evil child got buried wrong.
So,
it's really the Undertaker's fault.
I think we gotta get out of here. Jeff, where can people find you? Is there something going on?
There sure is. I'm kickstarting a role-playing game called Mission Accomplished. It is a role-playing game of super spies and office meetings for 4 to 8 players. You can go on to Kickstarter and find that, because there's not really a great way to give you that link without just saying go there and do that. You can also find me on Twitter at Party of One Pod, or go to the Party of One Podcast at partyofonepodcast.com. It's about 2-player role-playing games.
It's a real good time. Jen, is there any place we can find you?
No, not really.
No?
Just go to the Party of One sites.
And watch what gets produced. Laura, we have to leave the Spoopy plot.
Oh, thank God.
Is there anything you want to pay respects to that we didn't dig up that we wanted to find?
If anyone has access to Erie, Indiana, not in German, all the versions we could find were in German.
Yes, or the weird spin-off second season, which made it debatable if we could do it anyway. So, yeah, I'd like to throw out the Crypt Keeper game show.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that one. But didn't have. Well, maybe in the game show month, we'll see.
And I wanted to do Mina and the Count.
Can we Google something real quick?
Sure.
To see how many seasons a particular show had if we're
Absolutely.
talking Spoopy?
I do this all the time.
How many seasons did Mummies Alive have?
Way more than one. I watched
Way
it.
more than one?
Yeah,
Mummies Alive we looked
ran for a
and
while.
realized it ran too long for us to do.
Okay, so it only technically had one season, but had 42 episodes.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that there's a similar issue
What about
with...
Swamp Thing?
Ooh, I don't know about
What about the Swamp Thing cartoon?
I think there's a similar issue with Mighty Max, which was something was considered, and something that we still might do in another month, we'll wait and see, is the animated series of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. That was going to be a Spoopy month thing.
What about Swamp Thing? I have another cartoon that I'll mention off camera or off mic.
Ooh, Swamp Thing ran only 5 episodes.
Oh, Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing might be coming back.
Swamp Thing good.
You might see.
We have a month planned that Swamp Thing could fit into. But now we are moving into November, which is going to be Backdoor Pilot Month.
Yep.
So basically, these are pilots that exist within television shows. And we put up a poll that you can vote for on Plus 2 Comedy. It might be closed by now. But for the first month, we're going to do the one that we really wanted to do. So, Laura, what are we doing?
For the first episode, we wanted to stick to a show we were very familiar with. So we are going to be doing The Farm from The Office,
Yes.
which was the intended pilot for a spin-off featuring Dwight Schrute.
Yes. So, that links are available for that as well. It's called Netflix. If you want to watch that episode, we'll be doing that next time here on the Stay Doomed Show. If you want to talk to us, how can they contact us, Laura?
You can email us at thestaydoomedshow@gmail.com or Facebook and Twitter at Stay Doomed.
Yes, and if you want to talk to me about how that kid should keep his fandom straight, I'm at TV's Noah on Twitter.
And if you want to talk more about lost media and weird late 90s, early 2000s Nickelodeon trivia, I'm Priorities. Until next time, stay doomed.